Hey, Matt the Lore Master here. Today I wanted to go into my next portion on the second ed introduction, and I'll be looking at races in my player's handbook. In the player's handbook, we're introduced to 6 available race options: dwarves, elves, gnomes, halflings, half-elves, and humans. In order to pick out a race, you have to meet the racial requirements, which the hardest one to meet would be the elves, because they require 8 in charisma, 8 in intelligence, 7 in constitution, and 6 in dex. Most of the others just require 1 or 2 stats to be higher than average. Well, I guess those are still below technical average, but the highest number you have to get for any of them is the dwarf's constitution of 11, but otherwise his stats are fairly low, but he requires a strength of 8. Don't want to get too specific. Every race in the game has a stat requirement, so you can take that race, which is typically just to make sure it's harder to get the racial abilities. Humans do not have one, which I guess makes them the exception, but they also have no racial abilities. So, starting it on the primary races, dwarves receive a +1 to constitution, a -1 to charisma, because they're kind of gruff. Again, charisma, not how pretty you are, but how you come across. Because dwarves can have very nice, pretty beards, but they're very forward and aren't typically kind, I guess, to new people. Their racial bonuses are a + to saves against some magic and poison. They have a 20% fail chance on magical items, though that does not include weapons or armor. Dwarves can always use those. Dwarves get a +1 to hit orcs, half-orcs, goblins, and hobgoblins. And when ogres, trolls, or ogre magi, giants, or titans attack dwarves, these monsters subtract 4 from their attack rolls. Dwarves have infravision, which is a dark vision, of 60 feet, and have several other abilities that allow them to detect greater slope in a passage, detect new tunneling or passage construction, detect sliding or shifting walls, detect stonework, traps, pits, or deadfalls, or determine approximate depth underground. And these are all rolled on a d6, and if you roll a good number, you can determine these things. I don't know how often someone actually tries to do that. I don't think I ever have in game, and I do like to play dwarfs. Elves! Elves have, well, quite a few nice things about their abilities. They naturally get a +1 to hit with any long sword or long bow. They also can sneak up on enemies better than most characters could, as long as they're not with anyone with metal armor or anyone other than elves or halflings. The rest of the party must stay 90 feet away. Then they get a +4 in their attempts to surprise. Elves also get infravision and a resistance to charm and sleep spells. 100%. Just they always resist it. Proves challenging for DMs sometimes, but they can find ways around it. Elves have similar detection abilities. They can find secret doors, secret passages, etc., and concealed doors. Gnomes, similar to the dwarves, they get the same constitution bonus to their saving throws against spells, but not against poison. They have the same 20% magical failure options, or detriment. And They get a +1 to attack against kobolds and goblins, and gnolls, bugbears, ogres, trolls, ogre magi, giants, and titans take a -4 to hit them, similar to the dwarves. They have 60-foot infravision like both dwarves and elves, and they can use that same kind of rolling chart to determine if they can detect slope or grade, detect unsafe passages, determine approximate depth underground, and determine direction. No one ever uses these, except for maybe the elves' secret door ability. But they're there, so if you do feel the need to do it and you happen to that race, roll it. Okay, half-elves. Yeah. They have 30% resistance to sleep and charm, infravision of 60 feet. They can detect hidden doors, concealed doors, and whatnot, a little bit less often than their elven forebears. And that is all their adjustments, or abilities. Halflings are, well, a mixture. They receive +1 saving throw against wands, staves, spells, etc. And saving throw bonus for Constitution against poison, but not against magic. And they get a +1 to use slings and thrown weapons. They can use the same surprise ability as an elf, with the same restrictions, and they have certain other abilities rolled on percentile to determine if they get it, for infravision of either 60, 30, or 0 feet, which means no infravision at all, and they can do the detect passages and whatnot of the dwarves on a 75%. 75%? Oh, no. Okay. Some of them can do that as well. Humans, as stated previously, don't get an adjustment or any other special abilities, except for the fact that they can be any class, which we'll talk about in the next video, whereas all the other races are restricted in which classes they can have. The last thing the book has in the race section are tables for height and weight, starting age, and the characters' aging rates and how it changes their stats. Yep, so that's all I got to say on races. Until next time, talk to you later.